Welcome to No Human Left Behind, AI the podcast. In today's episode, a conversation on AI safety and robustness.
Okay, so get this, listeners. You've sent us like a ton of research on AI safety and robustness.
Yeah.
And we're ready to take you on this deep dive into how we can make AI reliable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can we trust it? How can we make it tough? And then even like touch on the big what ifs of superintelligence.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting because AI, it's not science fiction anymore. It's like right here with us. It's in our cars. It's in healthcare. It's even giving us those recommendations on Netflix or Spotify or whatever. So
right.
Yeah, it's everywhere. But the more it's a part of our lives, the more we have to really think about safety, I think.
Right. Yeah, because like imagine a medical AI misdiagnosing something.
Oh, yeah.
Or a self-driving car.
Yeah.
Like not seeing a traffic light or misinterpreting a sign.
Yeah.
The stakes are really high.
Totally, yeah.
And this is where it gets kind of tricky, I think. Because AI, especially like deep learning, it's not like traditional software where it's, you can see the code, it's clear cut.
Right.
It can be really hard to like fully predict or understand how it behaves.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't just like look at a line of code and say, okay, this is what it's going to do. And that's why it's so important that we approach this AI safety systematically, like it's a puzzle.
Okay.
With all these different pieces. And one piece is this what we call the specification problem.
Okay.
So imagine you've got like a cleaning robot.
Yeah.
It's supposed to like tidy up your house, but instead of like carefully, cleaning around your favorite things, it just plows through everything because it's only thinking about speed, not, avoiding objects. That's a specification problem.
Yeah.
The robot's objectives, they're not lined up with what we actually want.
Okay, so we need to be like programming the AI with the right goals in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else makes this whole AI safety puzzle like so complex?
Well, another big piece is robustness.
Good.
We need these AI systems to be tough, able to handle surprises or even like deliberate attacks.
Okay.
Like a voice assistant that just goes haywire because there's like noise in the background, or a facial recognition system that gets fooled by like a disguise or something. So
okay, so how do we actually like make AI tougher?
Right.
Is it like giving it a digital workout or something?
Kind of, yeah. One method is what we call adversarial training.
That's right.
Think of it like a martial arts student. They're learning to anticipate and counter their opponent's moves.
Right.
So with adversarial training, we expose the AI to different attacks. Like we basically train it to defend itself against manipulation.
Okay, that's really clever.
Yeah.
So we've got the goals, we've got the training, but what other pieces are we kind of dealing with here?
All right. Well, there's assurance. And that's really all about knowing, like with real certainty, that an AI is doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Okay.
And this is particularly tough with deep learning, just because it's so complex.
Right.
How do we like look inside that web of calculations and confirm that it's operating the way it's supposed to?
Right.
And that's where these formal methods come in, which you can think of as like the mathematical detectives, the AI safety detectives.
Okay.
So imagine we're using these methods to actually prove that a self-driving car will never run a red light.
Wow.
No matter what happens,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
These methods, they give us a level of certainty that we just can't get with traditional testing alone.
So we're talking about like mathematically guaranteeing AI safety.
Right.
Are there specific like techniques within these formal methods?
Yeah, there are. One is called model checking, which it's like having a super powered what if machine, right? It can explore any possible scenario that the AI might encounter.
Oh, right.
For example, we could use model checking to verify like the safety of a drone delivery system.
Okay.
So the model checker would explore like every possible flight path, every weather condition, make sure that the drone's not going to, hit a building or fly into restricted airspace or something like that.
Okay.
Then there's theorem proving, which uses logic to show that an AI system meets very, very specific safety requirements.
Okay.
It's like building a mathematical argument to prove that the AI is doing exactly what it should.
So we've got ways to set goals, make it tougher, mathematically check that it's doing the right thing. What's like the last piece of the puzzle here?
Yeah, the last piece is security.
Okay.
Right? AI systems, they're just like any other computer system, they're vulnerable to hacking and attacks.
Okay.
So imagine somebody taking over a self-driving car.
Yeah.
And causing an accident, right? Or manipulating, a financial algorithm for personal gain. The consequences could be really bad.
Okay. Yeah, this is starting to sound really intense.
Yeah.
But hold on, we were talking about assurance, which makes sense, but what about the fact that AI, especially deep learning, is often called a black box?
Right.
How can we really trust something if we don't even know how it's making its decisions?
You're right. That's a great point. And it leads us to this really fascinating area of research called explainable AI, or XAI.
Okay.
And it's all about making AI's decisions more transparent, making it understandable to us humans.
Right.
So instead of just getting like a yes or no from the AI, XAI lets us understand why.
Okay.
It's like asking the AI to show its work. So we can spot errors.
Right.
We can identify biases and work with it better. Yeah. So let's say, there's a medical AI that's being used to figure out if someone's, eligible for a loan, right?
Okay, yeah.
Based on their health data. So we could use an XAI technique called SHP, and it would show us which data points were most important to the AI's decision.
Okay.
So that would help us understand if the decision was made, for the right reasons.
Right.
Or if there were some hidden biases in the data.
Okay.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels like we've covered so much, from understanding the goals of AI to making it stronger, and even making sure it's behaving, how we intended.
Right.
But one thing that I keep thinking about is just the power of AI.
Yeah.
Particularly like deep learning.
Yeah.
It's behind so much of this AI boom that we've been seeing.
Totally.
But if it's that powerful, does that also mean that it has a greater potential for unintended consequences?
Right. You're absolutely right. Deep learning it's been amazing, but it does present some unique challenges when it comes to safety. It's so complex that it can be really hard to pinpoint why it makes a specific decision.
Right.
And this lack of transparency, plus the fact that it's vulnerable to these adversarial examples, the tricky situations we were talking about earlier, it definitely raises some concerns. Yeah.
So it's kind of like having this super powerful tool that can do amazing things.
Yeah.
But we need to be extra careful with how we use it.
Exactly.
Okay.
But, the good news is there's a lot of research going on right now that's trying to make deep learning safer.
Okay.
So scientists are exploring, new techniques to make it more interpretable,
right,
more verifiable, to help us understand how these complex systems, how they work.
So it's reassuring to know that the people are working on it and that researchers are on top of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of areas where AI is already being used for like super complex tasks,
right?
Like I'm thinking about self-driving cars, drones, all these other autonomous systems.
Yeah.
What are like the safety challenges that come up in those domains?
Well, autonomous systems they kind of take this AI complexity to a whole other level.
Right.
They operate in the real world, which is unpredictable.
Yeah.
And they need to be incredibly reliable.
Right.
I mean, imagine a self-driving car in a city during rush hour, right?
Wow.
You've got pedestrians, you've got cyclists, you've got people changing lanes,
Right.
There's just so many things to consider.
It's mind-boggling to even think about all the potential situations that an autonomous system could encounter. Right. So how do we even begin to address safety in those environments?
Well, it requires a kind of a multi-layered approach. And one key part is just rigorous testing.
Right.
We need to put these systems through the ringer.
Okay.
Right, in the real world, but also in these super sophisticated simulations to see how they handle all sorts of situations.
Okay.
So imagine creating a virtual city, right?
Okay.
With the traffic patterns and unexpected events, and then letting a self-driving car AI learn and adapt in that environment.
So it's like boot camp for AI, but in a virtual world.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And then we also have to think about creating what we call safety envelopes,
Okay.
which are basically boundaries or constraints
Okay.
that limit the AI's actions. So think of it like a teenager learning to drive.
Right.
You know, you might limit their driving to certain areas or times of day until they get more experience. So similarly, we can limit the potential harm that an autonomous system could cause, even if it runs into a situation that it's not quite ready for.
That's a really interesting analogy.
Yeah.
But creating those safety envelopes, that sounds so complex.
Yeah.
How do you even define those boundaries in a way that makes sure it's safe, but also allows the AI to actually work?
Yeah. It's a tough problem. And it often involves a bunch of different factors, the specific task that the AI is doing, how risky it is.
Okay.
Even ethical considerations.
Okay.
So for example, a self-driving car might have stricter safety envelopes in a school zone than on a highway.
Right.
It's about finding that balance between letting the AI learn and keeping things safe.
So there's a lot of nuance involved in figuring this out. And this makes me think we've talked about all this technical stuff, but what about the human side of it? What about the ethical considerations?
Yeah.
Do we need rules? Do we need regulations to make sure that AI is being used responsibly?
You're absolutely right. The more powerful AI gets, the more we need, some rules of the road.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The challenge is that it's a technology that's changing so fast.
Right.
So we need rules that are effective
Okay.
and adaptable.
Yeah.
That can keep up with all the advancements that are happening.
Right. It's almost like trying to hit a moving target.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of.
Are there specific approaches that people are considering?
Yeah. Yeah. There are. Some experts they think we need domain-specific regulations.
Okay.
Right. So rules that are tailored to specific areas like healthcare or transportation.
Right.
So for instance, a self-driving car that might have different rules than a medical AI.
Right.
Other people are pushing for more general principles, like ethical principles.
Okay.
That can apply across the board. And these principles they would address things like transparency, fairness, accountability.
Okay.
Making sure that AI is developed in a way that aligns with human values.
It seems like finding that right balance between the specific and the flexible is going to be really key.
Yeah. Totally.
But this isn't just a national issue, is it?
Right.
It's happening all over the world.
Global, yeah. Absolutely. AI is everywhere.
So international cooperation is really, really important then.
Yeah, I think it's crucial. We need to work towards global standards and regulations so we don't end up with this messy patchwork of rules that are all different. I mean, imagine, if every country had completely different rules for self-driving cars. It would be chaos. It would be really hard to have a safe global transportation system.
It makes you realize that AI safety is a truly global issue.
Totally.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. We've gone from the nitty-gritty details to the ethical, the philosophical stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't help but think about the even bigger picture.
Right.
The future of AI.
Yeah.
What about the possibility of artificial general intelligence or AGI?
Right.
AI that's as smart as humans or even smarter.
Yeah, that's where we get into, the really long-term thinking.
Yeah.
And it's definitely an area that requires a lot of careful thought.
Right.
AGI, it opens up this whole new world of possibilities, but also challenges. We're talking about AI that could potentially think for itself.
Right.
Learn independently. Maybe even surpass human capabilities.
Okay, so we're not just talking about AI that can, play chess or recognize faces.
Right.
We're talking about AI that can learn, adapt, and solve problems in ways that we might not even be able to understand.
Yeah, that's the potential of AGI. It's both exciting and kind of scary.
Right.
That level of intelligence, it could lead to incredible breakthroughs, right? Like solving these complex scientific problems, developing new life-saving technologies, even addressing, global challenges like climate change.
So it sounds like AGI could be like the key to unlocking a whole new era of human progress.
Potentially, yeah.
But what about the potential downsides?
Right.
What are like the risks that we need to be thinking about?
Yeah, that's where the conversation gets really interesting.
Yeah.
We have to think about the unintended consequences of these really complex AI systems.
Right.
How do we make sure that AGI aligns with our values?
Right.
How do we prevent it from developing goals that might be, harmful to humans?
So it's almost like we're venturing into uncharted territory here.
Yeah.
Like how do you even like begin to address those questions?
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking about teaching AI right from wrong?
It's a question that's been on the minds of philosophers and AI researchers for a long time.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just, giving it a set of rules to follow.
Right.
Human values they're complicated.
Right.
They're nuanced.
Yeah.
And translating that into something that an AI can understand, it's a huge challenge.
It's almost like trying to explain like the concept of beauty to a computer.
Right. Exactly.
It's not just about, recognizing patterns.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the feeling.
The experience, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why this area of research, we call it value alignment. It's so crucial.
Okay.
Scientists are exploring all sorts of ways to try to teach AI about human values.
Okay.
Some involve, training it on massive data sets of human behavior, hoping to extract, the underlying principles.
Right.
Others are looking at ways to let AI interact with humans more meaningfully,
Right.
so they can learn values through observation and feedback.
So it's almost like we're trying to give AI like a crash course in what it means to be human.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to bridge the gap between logic and algorithms.
Right.
And this messy, complex world of human values.
Right.
And it's important to remember that it's a process, right?
Yeah.
It's ongoing. We're still figuring this out.
Right. It's early days.
Yeah.
It sounds really fascinating, but also like incredibly complex.
Yeah.
But what about for those of us who aren't, AI researchers, who aren't policymakers?
Right.
Like what can we do to be a part of this conversation and help make sure that AI has a positive future?
That's a great question, and it really highlights something important, which is that AI it's not just for experts.
Right.
It's going to affect all of us.
Right.
And so we all have a role to play in shaping it, in shaping its future.
So it's not just about like passively watching AI develop.
No.
It's about actively participating in deciding where it goes.
Exactly. The future of AI it's not set in stone. It's being written right now.
Okay.
And there are things we can do to be a part of that.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay.
What are some like concrete things we can do?
Well, first of all, just stay informed. The more you understand about AI, the better equipped you are to engage in these conversations,
Right.
to make good decisions. There's tons of resources out there, articles, podcasts, online courses, all sorts of things that can help you, get the basics.
Okay.
And learn more about specific areas that you're interested in.
So it's about becoming like an informed citizen of the AI age.
Right, exactly.
What else can we do?
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
Challenge assumptions, look at different viewpoints, demand transparency from the people who are building and using new systems.
So it's about holding AI accountable.
Yeah.
Not just to technical standards.
Right.
But to our values are human values.
Absolutely. And finally, remember that the future of AI, it's not a spectator sport.
Right.
Your voice matters. whether it's supporting, ethical research or advocating for responsible regulations, or even just, having conversations with your friends and family. We can all help build a future where AI is a force for good.
That's a really powerful message.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that we all have a stake in this.
We do.
And our actions really do make a difference.
They do.
The choices we make right now are going to shape AI for generations.
Totally.
We need to work together and make sure it's a future we're all proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that, we can be optimistic about.
Right.
AI has this incredible potential to make our lives better, to solve, really tough problems,
Right.
to create a world that's more just and sustainable.
Yeah.
But to make that happen, we have to be engaged, we have to be informed,
Right.
and we have to be proactive.
It's not enough to just, sit back and watch it all happen. Now, we need to be a part of it.
We do.
So as we continue to learn about AI, to interact with it,
Yeah.
what are like the key questions that we should be asking ourselves?
Always ask yourself, how is this AI being developed?
Yeah.
Who's benefiting from it?
Right.
What are the potential risks, and how can we prevent them?
Okay.
Never stop questioning.
Right.
Never stop, demanding that AI be used for good.
Right.
The future of AI, it's in our hands.
Yeah.
Let's make it a future that we can all be, that we can all be proud of.
What a powerful message.
Yeah.
And on that note, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of AI safety.
Right.
But remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep imagining the possibilities.
Absolutely.
Until next time, fellow knowledge seekers.
Here's till next time.
Okay, so XAI, it's like it gives us a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, exactly. It's like instead of just getting an answer, we get to see the AI's reasoning.
Right. So it's not just a magic black box anymore.
No, we can start to understand the why.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like we've talked a lot about making AI robust, making sure it's behaving how we want. But what about the fact that it's so powerful?
Right.
Especially deep learning. I mean, it's driving so much of the progress we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But does that power also mean that there's more potential for things to go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
For unintended consequences?
Yeah, you're right. Deep learning has been amazing, but it's so complex. It's hard to know exactly why it makes a specific decision sometimes.
Right.
And that lack of transparency, plus the fact that it can be vulnerable to those tricky situations we talked about, like adversarial examples, it definitely raises some concerns.
So it's like we have this powerful tool, but we need to be really careful about how we use it.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
But the good news is there's a lot of research happening right now to try to make deep learning safer.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, there are scientists working on techniques to make it more interpretable, more verifiable, so we can actually understand how these complex systems are working.
It's reassuring to know that people are on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of areas where AI is already being used for some pretty complex stuff like self-driving cars, drones,
Yeah.
These autonomous systems.
Yeah.
What kind of unique safety challenges come up with those?
Well, autonomous systems, they take this AI complexity to a whole other level because they're actually out there in the real world.
Right, which is unpredictable.
Exactly. Yeah. The real world is unpredictable, and these systems need to work reliably, all the time.
Right.
Imagine a self-driving car navigating a busy street, right?
Oh.
You've got pedestrians, cyclists, unexpected lane changes. There's just so much to consider.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. How do we even address safety in those kinds of environments?
Well, it takes a multi-layered approach.
Mhm.
Rigorous testing is key. We need to put these systems through all kinds of scenarios, both in real-world settings and in simulations, to see how they handle different situations.
Right.
Imagine, building a virtual city, complete with traffic and unexpected events, and letting a self-driving car learn and adapt in that environment.
Oh, wow. So it's like boot camp for the AI, but in a virtual world.
Exactly, yeah. And we also have to think about these things called safety envelopes.
Okay, what are those?
Well, they're basically boundaries or constraints on the AI's actions.
Okay.
Think of it like a teenager learning to drive.
Okay.
You might restrict them to driving in certain areas or times until they have more experience.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. So similarly, we can limit how much harm an autonomous system can cause, even if it encounters a situation it's not prepared for.
That's a good analogy. But creating those safety envelopes, that sounds pretty complicated.
It is, yeah. It's a complex process. It involves a lot of different factors. What's the specific task, how much risk is involved, even ethical considerations.
Yeah.
So, for example, a self-driving car might have stricter safety envelopes in a school zone than on a highway.
Right. That makes sense.
It's about finding that balance between letting the AI learn and keeping everything safe.
So there's a lot of nuance involved. It's not just a simple on-off switch.
No, definitely not.
This makes me think, we've talked about the technical aspects of AI safety, but what about the human side of it?
Yeah.
What about the ethical considerations?
Right.
Do we need rules and regulations to make sure that AI is used responsibly?
Absolutely, yeah. The more powerful AI becomes, the more important it is that we have some rules of the road.
Okay.
The tricky part is figuring out how to regulate a technology that's evolving so quickly.
Right. Yeah, it's moving so fast.
We need rules that are effective, but also flexible enough to adapt to these changes.
It's like trying to hit a moving target.
It is, yeah.
Are there specific approaches that people are looking at?
Yeah, there are a few. Some people think we need regulations for specific areas like healthcare or transportation.
Okay.
So different rules for a self-driving car versus a medical AI.
Right. So tailored to each domain.
Exactly. Other people are pushing for more general ethical principles, like principles of transparency, fairness, accountability.
Okay.
That could apply across different sectors.
So that would be more like a framework.
Yeah, more of a framework for ethical AI development.
Okay, that makes sense. It seems like finding that right balance is going to be key.
Yeah, definitely.
But this isn't just a national issue, right? AI development is happening all over the world.
Right, it's a global issue.
Yeah.
AI development is happening everywhere, so international cooperation is really important.
So we need global standards.
We do, yeah. We need to work towards global standards and regulations so we don't end up with this fragmented landscape of different rules.
Yeah, because that would be chaos.
It would, yeah. Imagine if every country had different regulations for self-driving cars. It would be incredibly difficult to create a safe and unified global transportation system.
Yeah, it really highlights that AI safety is a global challenge.
Totally, yeah.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. We've gone from the technical details to the ethical considerations.
Right.
But I keep thinking about the bigger picture, the future of AI.
Right.
What about the possibility of artificial general intelligence?
Right.
Or AGI? AI that's as smart as humans or even smarter.
Yeah. That's when we get into the really long-term thinking.
Yeah.
And it's an area that requires a lot of careful thought.
Right.
AGI opens up so many possibilities, but also new challenges.
Right.
We're talking about AI that could potentially think for itself.
Wow.
Learn independently.
Yeah.
Maybe even surpass human capabilities.
Okay, so we're not just talking about AI that can play chess or recognize faces anymore.
No.
We're talking about AI that can learn, adapt, and solve problems in ways that we might not even understand.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the potential of AGI, and it's both exciting and a little daunting.
Right.
That level of intelligence could lead to incredible breakthroughs, like solving complex scientific problems, developing new technologies, addressing global challenges like climate change.
It sounds like AGI could, unlock a whole new era of progress.
It could, yeah. It has that potential.
But what about the potential downsides?
Right.
What are the risks that we need to be thinking about?
That's where the conversation gets really interesting. We have to think about the unintended consequences of these super complex AI systems.
Okay.
How do we make sure that AGI is aligned with our values?
Right.
How do we prevent it from developing goals that might be harmful to humans?
So it's almost like we're venturing into uncharted territory here.
Yeah, kind of.
How do you even begin to address those questions? Are we talking about teaching AI right from wrong?
It's a question that has puzzled philosophers and AI researchers for a long time. It's not as simple as just giving AI a set of rules to follow.
Right.
Human values are complex, they're nuanced,
Right.
and translating them into something an AI can understand is a huge challenge.
It's almost like trying to explain the concept of beauty to a computer.
Right, exactly.
It's not just about recognizing patterns.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that feeling. You know?
Exactly. And that's why this area of research, we call it value alignment,
Okay.
is so crucial. Scientists are exploring all sorts of ways to try to teach AI about human values.
Okay.
Some involve training it on massive data sets of human behavior, hoping to extract the underlying principles.
Okay.
Others are looking at ways to let AI interact with humans in a more meaningful way,
Right.
so it can learn through observation and feedback.
So it's kind of like we're trying to give AI a crash course in being human.
In a way, yeah. We're trying to bridge that gap between the logical world of algorithms and the messy, complex world of human values. And it's important to remember it's a process.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. We're still figuring this out.
Right. It's early days.
It is, yeah.
This is fascinating, but it sounds incredibly complex.
It is, yeah. It's a really challenging area of research.
But what about those of us who aren't AI researchers?
Yeah.
You know, who aren't policymakers?
Right.
Like what can we do to be part of this conversation?
Right.
To help ensure that AI has a positive future?
That's a great question, and it really highlights something important. AI isn't just for experts. It's going to affect all of us, so we all have a role to play in shaping its future.
So it's not just about passively watching it develop.
Oh, no, not at all.
We need to be actively involved.
We do, yeah. The future of AI is being written right now, and we can all be part of that process.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some things we can do?
Well, first of all, just stay informed. The more you understand about AI, the better equipped you'll be to engage in these conversations and make informed decisions.
Right.
There are tons of resources out there, articles, podcasts, online courses that can help you learn the basics and then delve deeper into areas that interest you.
Okay.
So it's about becoming an informed citizen in this age of AI.
Right. Like it's part of our civic duty now.
Yeah, in a way it is.
Okay. What else can we do?
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Challenge assumptions. Explore different viewpoints. Demand transparency from the people who are developing and using AI.
So it's about holding AI accountable not just to like technical standards,
Right.
but also to our values, to human values.
Absolutely, yeah. We need to make sure that AI is aligned with what we believe in.
Okay, that's really important. And lastly,
remember that the future of AI is not a spectator sport. Your voice matters. Whether it's supporting ethical AI research, advocating for responsible regulations, or even just talking to your friends and family about these issues, we can all contribute to building a future where AI is a force for good.
that's a powerful message. It makes you realize that we all have a stake in this and that our actions can actually make a difference.
They do. Yeah, the choices we make now will shape the AI landscape for generations to come.
We need to work together to make it a future that we're all proud of.
Absolutely. And it's something that we can be optimistic about.
Yeah.
AI has this incredible potential to improve our lives, to solve really tough problems, to create a world that's more just and sustainable.
Yeah.
But to make that happen, we have to be engaged, we have to be informed, and we have to be proactive.
It's not enough to just sit back and watch.
No, we need to be part of the process.
So as we continue to learn about AI, to interact with it,
Yeah.
what are like the key questions we should be asking ourselves?
Always ask yourself, how is this AI being developed? Who is benefiting from it? What are the potential risks, and how can we mitigate them?
Okay.
Never stop questioning and never stop demanding that AI be used for good. The future of AI is in our hands.
Yeah.
Let's make it a future we can all be proud of.
What a powerful message. And on that note, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of AI safety. But remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
It is, yeah.
Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep imagining the possibilities. Until next time, fellow knowledge seekers.
Until next time.
It's amazing to think about, like, AGI solving these huge problems.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking about those unintended consequences.
Right.
How do we even, like, anticipate and deal with those risks when we're talking about AI that could be smarter than us?
Well, that's where this idea of emergent behavior comes in.
Yeah.
As AI gets more advanced, especially as we, move towards AGI, we might see these AI systems doing things that we didn't actually program them to do. Okay.
It's like, when you see a child suddenly understand something that you didn't realize they were learning.
Right.
And they surprise you with their ability to to use that knowledge in a new way.
Right, right.
So similarly, AI, as it gets more complex, might start showing abilities or behaviors that we didn't anticipate.
So it's like the AI is learning and adapting in ways that go beyond what we initially programmed.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating, but also a little bit, unnerving.
Yeah.
So if we can't fully predict how AI is going to behave, how do we make sure that it's safe?
Right. And it really shows us how important it is to be constantly learning and adapting when it comes to AI safety.
Okay.
Traditional testing where you set up specific scenarios and you see how the AI does, that might not be enough when we're dealing with this emergent behavior.
Right.
We need new strategies to understand and predict these new capabilities.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Like, do we need to change how we develop and test AI?
Well, one promising approach is to study AI in these controlled environments.
Okay.
Almost like giving it a playground where we can watch it, see how it interacts, and learn its rules.
Okay.
And this could involve creating, complex simulations or what we call sandboxes where the AI can explore and evolve within certain boundaries.
So it's like giving the AI a safe space to learn and experiment.
Right.
So that we can study it and see if there are any warning signs before we let it out into the real world.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really where AI safety research comes in. It's not just about reacting to problems after they happen.
Right.
It's about anticipating them.
Okay.
Developing safeguards.
Yeah.
Promoting responsible AI development from the very beginning. We need to be thinking ahead, picturing different scenarios and building in those safety measures before those scenarios even have a chance to happen.
It sounds like we need AI safety researchers who are like chess grandmasters.
Yeah.
Always thinking several moves ahead.
Right. Exactly.
But it's not just about the technical side.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about ethics, about human values.
Yeah.
How do those things fit into making sure that the future of AI is safe and beneficial?
You're absolutely right. AI safety isn't just a technical problem. It's multifaceted. We need to look at it from different angles.
Wow.
We need ethicists, we need philosophers, we need social scientists, policymakers, and of course, computer scientists.
Yeah.
All working together to create a framework for AI development that benefits everyone. It's about making sure that AI aligns with our values, not the other way around.
So it's like we need this global team of experts from all these different fields to come together and guide the development of AI in a responsible and ethical way. Exactly.
And one thing that's often overlooked is the importance of diversity within the teams that are actually developing AI.
Okay, so you're saying if the people creating AI are all coming from the same background, they all have the same viewpoints,
right,
then their biases, whether they realize it or not, are going to end up in the technology they're creating.
Exactly. We need diverse voices. We need diverse perspectives. We need to shape AI from the ground up. And that helps us avoid creating systems that perpetuate inequalities or reflect just a very narrow worldview.
Right.
We need AI that's fair.
Okay.
We need AI that's inclusive.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we need AI that benefits everyone.
So it's about making sure that AI reflects the best parts of humanity,
right,
not the bad parts.
Absolutely.
It's been amazing talking about all of this with you.
Yeah.
We've covered so much from, the really technical stuff to the ethical, the philosophical.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
If there's one thing I hope people remember, it's that the future of AI is not set in stone.
Okay.
It's being shaped right now, and we all have a role to play in shaping it. AI has this incredible potential to make our lives better, to solve these really tough problems, to create a world that's more just and sustainable. But to make that happen, we have to be engaged, we have to be informed, and we have to be proactive. So
it's not enough to just be, passive observers.
No.
We have to be active participants in this AI revolution.
We do.
So as our listeners, as they continue to learn about AI, as they interact with it, what are some key questions they should keep in mind?
Always ask yourself, how is this AI being developed? Who's benefiting from it? What are the potential risks, and how can we minimize those risks?
Okay.
Never stop questioning, and never stop demanding that AI be used for good. The future of AI, it's in our hands.
Yeah.
Let's make it a future we can all be proud of.
That's such a powerful and an inspiring message.
Yeah.
And on that note, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of AI safety.
Right.
But remember, this is just the start of the conversation.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep imagining those possibilities. Until next time, fellow knowledge seekers.
Until next time.